Today we've got the Nissan Pathfinder, the Honda Pilot, and the Toyota Grand Highlander all vying for dominance. Ready? Let's go.
We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us.
The Nissan Pathfinder is the least expensive of the bunch here, starting at just under 40 grand. But this is the top platinum trim, which is $56,000. I know! But what you might pay at your local dealership just could be a little bit different. But don't worry, we have got tools on the site to help you know what you should pay in your area. So we've got links down below, or hit any of those QR codes to find out more. Now, the Pathfinder has got a few new tricks for 2026, including a larger touchscreen, but even with all these features, we're not sure that being the least expensive actually provides the most value. You guys, the Pathfinder has got a magnet in the wireless charger for your phone. Like, that is not going anywhere. Inside, Nissan has really stepped up its game. I'm not a fan of the brown interior, but the only other color is a dark gray, so this is pretty much as light as it gets. But the quality of the materials here are great, and it is definitely the most premium feeling of the three vehicles. I love that I've got some cool texture here on the steering wheel and in this little cubby hole for the passenger, and I'm digging the quilted pattern on the seats. I've never seen a pattern quite like this. It's great that Nissan is taking some design risks in here. The biggest change you might notice in the interior is this larger 12.3-inch touchscreen. Now, it is laid out really well and it's pretty easy to use, but like, why is that not in color? That just kills me. I've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but I've had a little bit of a hard time getting Apple CarPlay to work well, even when I'm using a wired connection. But when it comes to charging, you've got that wireless charger as well as two USB-C ports right up here in front. And thankfully, all the HVAC controls are physical buttons, and this AC is the business. You guys, it is 100 billion degrees today, and all I've wanted to do between takes is sit in the Pathfinder and cool down. If you live in a place where heat is a problem, the Pathfinder might just make you want to put on a sweater. When it comes to small item storage, I mean, nothing can beat that Honda Pilot, but I do have a little pass-through here under the center console for a small bag, and there is that passenger shelf. As for cup holders, well, if you got a narrow bottom one, that is no problem, but the big dumb cup, yeah, it's not gonna fit. Nothing fits the big dumb cup. But I do notice some scratches in here, so I'm not sure how these materials are gonna hold up over the long term. And if you're buying a used car, either gas or electric, check out bumper.com. With just a VIN or a license plate, you can learn all about that car's history. You can find out how many owners that car has had and where it's been registered and more. One button push. Now, you can get a bench seat in the Pathfinder, but I think that most folks are going to go for these really nice captain's chairs. I've got a ton of room back here, even for a full-sized adult, and your second row gets its own climate control with heated seats, and then you've got vents up here on the ceiling, which is really nice for little kids. Plus, your kids can argue over the two USB-C ports here, because you know your kids have got more than one thing to charge, right? The latch anchors back here are really easy to access, and this center console can be removed, but it's kind of a two-step process. You have to remove this and then reach back there, and then, oh yeah, there it is. But once you remove this, it'll give you easier access to the third row. Now, you can get into the third row even if you have a car seat in the second row. These seats do slide and tilt, but remember, it's pretty quick movement. But once you're back here, I mean, look, I don't have a ton of room, but it's okay. I don't want to sit back here for forever, but it should be great for kids. Plus, I've got cup holders, the ceiling vent up here, but only one USB port, so they're really gonna get mad at each other. Behind the third row in the Pathfinder is just 16.6 cubic feet of space, which is actually really tight for like a run of groceries, but you can just put these headrests down, flip that thing back here, and then that space expands to 45 cubes. And then throw those second row down, and that is 80 cubic feet of space. Now, that's not the most in the class, but this door opening here is really wide, so Home Depot runs shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, you might have noticed that none of these seats were electric. That's right, everything is manual. I mean, you get a 12-volt power outlet back here, but really, there's not a lot going on. Now, the Pathfinder really excels at towing. Now, normally you can tow about 3,500 pounds, and that's no big deal. But if you buy the towing package, that ups the rating to 6,000 pounds. That's more than pretty much any other midsize SUV out there. In fact, that's more than what I tow normally with my midsize truck. That is a great rating. Well, if you can't have a V8, you might as well have a V6, baby. That's right, we put the Pathfinder through the Edmunds testing, and we have some thoughts. Now, this V6 is paired with a 9-speed automatic, and together that scoots this little guy to 60 in about 7.6 seconds. Now, the 9-speed is way better than the CVT that it replaces, but you guys, it's still a little lazy to downshift, so be prepared to really put your foot into it if you want this thing to go, and especially if you're going up hills. The ride quality here is soft, but it's not too bouncy, and while sometimes you feel a few little shudders that like come up through the chassis, it's really no worse than any of the other vehicles that we've got here today. The handling here is actually pretty surprising, but in a good way. It feels very planted and very controlled, and I really love this steering because it's very responsive and it's got a nice weight to it. The brakes are really nothing to write home about, but I love the visibility. I've got this low belt line here. The windows are really big. There's not a lot of blind spots, and I love these huge mirrors. But I do wish that the driver's aids were better. You see, the adaptive cruise control is paired with the native nav, and that means that it will slow down before you get to like wide sweeping turns, but it will like slow down, like minus your speed by 15 miles per hour or so. It is very aggressive. And the lane keeping assist, that seems to overcorrect sometimes as well. So in all, there's a couple of things to like about the Pathfinder, right? I mean, I like the handling, I like the ride comfort, and I like the steering, but the adaptive cruise control and the transmission, they just kind of missed the mark. So the Pathfinder's got a couple of new tricks, but does it have the goods to compete with the Honda Pilot and the Toyota Grand Highlander? Starting at over $43,000, the Honda Pilot is the most expensive vehicle to get into, but only by a few $100s compared to that Grand Highlander that we're going to see a little bit later. And this all-wheel drive Elite, $55,000. Now, the Pilot got a little bit of a refresh in 2026, and it's got a few thoughtful updates, but the competition is really fierce. So, is it pretty good or just good enough? There is a ton of places to put your stuff. Honda just nails practicality. Now, Honda has got it going on when it comes to small item storage. This particular vehicle, it has 12 cup holders, and 8 of them, 8 can fit our big dumb cup. I love that the passenger shelf here is nice and deep. The door pockets are double stacked, and my center console is nice and deep. If you got a lot of stuff, this is the vehicle for you. Now, the design in here is more function over form, and folks who want a little bit of pizzazz probably aren't going to be satisfied, but the materials all look and feel high quality. I wish that the seats had just a little bit more adjustability, but the step-in height makes it really easy to just slide my rear right behind the wheel. Now, Honda gives us this 12.3-inch touchscreen standard across all trims for this year, and it is much quicker to react, which I really like. Plus, I am rolling with Google Maps, I've got Google Assistant, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and even Amazon Alexa if that is your bag. This is one of the easiest systems to use on the market. We all really like it. Plus, all of the HVAC controls are off the screen. Thank you. Now, to keep everything charged, I've got wireless charging here, and it even works through my bulky phone case, and I've got 2 USB-C ports, and for those of you who like to be a little bit old school, oh yeah, it's a 12 volt. You mean I can have a bench seat or captain's chairs? I mean, that's pretty cool. So yes, you can remove this middle seat right here and store it in the cargo area, so your second row seating is actually very flexible. Now, it does suffer a little bit when it comes to comfort, but come on, you're gonna put your least favorite child here anyway, so it's a really good trade-off. Second row passengers do have their own climate control system with heated seats, but the vents are kind of down low, so I guess your legs will be nice and cool. I don't know. Charging is taken care of by 2 USB-C ports, but I also like that you've got a standard household outlet in here to plug in larger devices like a computer or maybe even a refrigerator so you can have those cold road sodas. The doors to the second row open up pretty wide, so it's really easy to get a car seat back here. Plus, I've got latches in all 3 seats, both upper and lower, so you've got a lot of flexibility about where you want to put your kids. Now, these latches are recessed pretty far back, so when you're just sitting here like a normal human being, don't worry, they're not going to poke at you. It's really comfortable. Now, to get into the back seat is just one little touch of a button, and I don't really have to contort myself like a yogi, which is pretty nice. But once I'm back here, is a little bit cramped, which is weird because on paper in the spec sheet, this actually has 4 more inches of legroom than what you have in the Pathfinder. So it just goes to show you, sometimes that spec sheet does not tell the whole story. So if you're going to throw a couple of kids back here, remember that latch anchors are only on the passenger side, but both sides get a USB-C port. They both get 2 cup holders. So there's 4 cup holders back here in the Pilot. But unfortunately, the vents, they're just a little awkwardly placed. Not my favorite thing. But let's see what's happening behind this row. Behind the third row in the Pilot, I've got a little bit more room than I have in the Pathfinder, but more importantly, it's just more flexible because I've got this false floor here, and underneath I can store that removable seat, and there's still room for extra little tiny things. But I can just throw this guy down here, lower that, and then that expands up to about 48 cubic feet of space. And when everything is folded down, that expands to 87 cubic feet. But as you notice, everything's pretty old school in here. There is not a button in sight. You got to lower those seats manually. And again, we got our 12 volt. Yeah, buddy. Now the Honda doesn't do quite as well as the Pathfinder when it comes to towing. It maxes out at right around 5,000 pounds. The Pilot also has a V6, but here it's made it to a 10-speed automatic, and just having that extra gear makes it a little bit slower to 60 than the Pathfinder. And when you're driving it slowly around town, it just seems kind of busy. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But this SUV just handles like the business. The all-wheel drive system here is really good at pushing the power to where it actually needs it. And even with these tires, which are not like any kind of super sticky things, it's really, really fun to put this thing through a turn. The ride quality here is pretty good, but we did notice that speed bumps can be a problem. So take them really slowly. Otherwise, you might get a little bit of harshness and maybe even some noise coming into the cabin. The driver's aids here are good, but the adaptive cruise control, it has a tendency to disengage when you stop for even just a split second. So you're always like flicking that resume button. And that forward collision warning system, it is on a hair trigger, especially in city traffic. But the real problem here is in the brakes and the steering. Now the brakes feel really linear and that's good, but panic stops are a whole other ballgame. You get a lot of like ABS chatter, the nose takes a dive, and it actually makes me feel more panicked when I don't need to be. The steering, it's super light and it's really numb. I don't like it. So in all, the Pilot's just kind of a mixed bag of driving characteristics, but it is the best handling SUV of the bunch. So we've got flexible storage, flexible seating for kids, and a really good all-wheel drive system, but we still have one more SUV to go. The Grand Highlander starts at right around $43,000, but this is the only SUV of the 3 where you can get a hybrid option just by adding about $3,000 to the bottom line. And this one right here is the Hybrid Max in the limited trim, and it costs about $57,000. Now, sure, you might be spending a little bit more money for those hybrids, but believe me, those are the powertrains that you want. Plus, the Grand Highlander has got the most passenger room, and in all, it is the most compelling vehicle we've got today. All right, look, this is rad. Zip, zip, zip. You guys listen to this. Ooh, that's some plastic stuff, right? But Toyota gets it right with the colors because I can get this interior in black, brown, or this light gray, which really gives it a nice airy feel. And I love the way everything is laid out. I mean, come on, a sliding door from our center console instead of a hingey guy, that's pretty cool. Now the small storage isn't quite as good as what's happening in the Pilot, but still, I've got a lot of stuff for my co-pilot, like the passenger shelf and the little cubby down here. I love what Toyota's done with the cup holders here in the front. I've got a little one for tiny little bottles, and then a medium-sized one if your cup's got a skinny bottom, and then a big old honker one for a big dumb bottle. Now, taller drivers might want a little bit more thigh support, but these seats remain comfortable even after a long drive. Now, this trim comes with heated and ventilated front seats. Thank you very much, because the ventilation on this works great, and believe me, it is still really warm out here. Now, like the Pilot and the Pathfinder, I have got all the HVAC controls off the screen, super easy to use, and tri-zone climate control. The standard touchscreen is 8 inches, but here I've got the 12.3-inch version, and I do like it because it's quick to respond, and I've got Google Maps, and the voice assistant is really good. But there kind of seems like there isn't really a home screen, and if you want to get information here on the dash, it can be a little confusing. I mean, I've fiddled around with it for a long time, and I'm still not sure how to get information up there. But hey, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can't go wrong. But the Toyota's got the most options when it comes to charging, with wireless charging, 2 USB ports in the center, and another USB port just for the passenger. This third row is just right. Now, normally I'd be talking about the second row at this point in the video, but this third row is just so good. It's mounted up a little bit higher, so I've got more legroom even for my 5'9" frame. And these rear seats even recline, so it is really comfortable back here. And back here, I've got really big cup holders, USB-C ports on either side, and the vents are up here on the roof, which is really good for getting air down to kids that are in car seats. Now, this second row seat slides really far forward, so it's pretty easy to get out from the third row, even by yourself. Now, the Grand Highlander does not have a removable center seat like in the Pilot, but this center console comes out pretty easily. It's really lightweight, and it can give you a little pathway into that third row. Plus, these seats move fore and aft by a lot, so getting a rear-facing car seat in here is no problem. Folks back here get their own climate controls with heated seats, and you've got the vents up here in the ceiling. Plus, you get USB-C ports, 2 of them, 1 for each seat, and like the Pilot, there is a household outlet, but this one is grounded, so it's just a little bit more useful. All in all, y'all, the back seat is a really nice place to be in the Grand Highlander. If you've got a ton of stuff to move around, the Highlander should definitely be your choice. Back here behind the third row, I've got 20 cubic feet of space. Fold down the rear seats and you've got 58 cubes. And when everything is folded flat, you're looking at 97 cubic feet of space. You guys, you can go to IKEA and Home Depot on the same run, no problem. Towing here is par for the course, about 5,000 pounds, but honestly, there is so much space here in the Grand Highlander, I'm not even mad at it for being average. And no 12 volts here, you've got 120 volts, 1,500 watts of pure power. When it comes to the Highlander, there can be only one. Unless, of course, it's the Grand Highlander, because you can get 3 engines in this guy. You can get a plain gas, you can get a hybrid, or this one, which is the Hybrid Max, which adds a turbocharger. So as such, this is the quickest vehicle to 60 of our 3, and it also gets the best fuel economy. I love this powertrain. Now, the brakes and the steering, they get everything done with no muss, no fuss. The ride quality is super smooth. I mean, honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't buy this vehicle. But I do wish that the all-wheel drive system was just a little bit more fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not all over the road or anything like that. It's just that the powertrain's so good, why not add a little bit of fun handling to go with it, right? Driver's aids here are plentiful and standard, and Toyota just keeps getting better and better with their adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist with every single iteration. I also dig that my camera comes on automatically when I park. I mean, not that I really need it, because I've got great visibility even out that back window with the 3 rows. So Toyota really hit it out of the park here. I mean, the Grand Highlander just clicks all the boxes. Honestly, I kind of hate myself for liking such a family-friendly SUV, but with the excellent powertrain, all of the room, and the comfortable ride, how could I not like it? Now, before we get to the end of this video, if there's anything we missed or if you've got any suggestions, let us know in the comments. We do read all of those comments. And hey, if you like this video, do me a solid, like and subscribe. The 2026 Pathfinder is the least expensive of the bunch, and it looks nice, but it can get expensive quickly. Fuel economy here is 23 miles per gallon for the front-wheel drive, but you'll lose 1 mile per gallon if you go up to all-wheel drive. Now, we think that the SV trim is the best value because you get a lot of great features like heated front seats, a power liftgate, and plenty of driver's aids. Now, the Pilot starts a little bit higher than the Pathfinder, but like the Nissan, it does get very expensive quickly. But I gotta say, this thing is built to withstand the rigors of family life. Now, MPG here is 22 miles per gallon for front-wheel drive, 21 miles per gallon for all-wheel drive, and we really recommend the EXL trim. That's only one step above the base Sport, but you get things like leather upholstery, wireless charging, and that cool removable seat in the second row. The gas-powered Grand Highlander starts at right about the same price as the Honda Pilot, but remember, we like the hybrid powertrains better, and the cheapest way to get into the Hybrid Max is to go with the limited trim, and it is $56,000. Now, I know that that is a lot of money, but we feel that this trim has more value than the top trims of either the Pilot or the Pathfinder. Plus, you've got great fuel economy. I mean, 36 miles per gallon for front-wheel drive, 34 for all-wheel drive. Come on, man, it's a no-brainer. Okay, let's look at the scorecard. Now, the Pathfinder lost a lot of points for efficiency, and keep in mind that we score efficiency against everything else on the road, but it did get a higher score for comfort. The Pilot also lost points for efficiency, but darn did it score well in in-cabin tech. But you can see that the Highlander takes a clear win. With all its space, tech, and hybrid options, it's just competing in a different class than the other two. And remember, we've got all of the rankings along with ratings and reviews of all of the competition over on our site. And you know what? We update them all the time, so check it out. With a good score, the Pathfinder is third among the cars here today. It's got looks and value, but it can't quite match the other contenders for family-friendly utility. Now, the Honda Pilot comes in with a good score as well, tying up the Pathfinder, but we have to give it the nod and the number 2 spot in this test for its more family-friendly design. The Pilot is easy to live with, but this jack-of-all-trades approach means that it's a master of none. The Toyota Grand Highlander with the Hybrid Max engine is the top dog in this video. It has a roomy interior and a comfortable ride, and then it adds a great MPG to the mix, all while being one of the quicker 3-row SUVs around. And that's why the Toyota Grand Highlander is the winner for today and third overall in our rankings. We love the fact that it is comfortable, it's got a lot of space, and man, that hybrid engine makes it scoot. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.